involved in politics in Virginia, as you know, the John Fredericks Show is the place to be to announce your candidacy. So right off the bat, this guy's got it going on because he's coming on our show to announce his candidacy. Smart guy. Pat, good to have you with us.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate you having me here.
Okay, now there's let me just set the framework here. Ridgel is not going to run for re-election. That's a shocker to a lot of people. Nobody saw it coming, Pat, including me. That's number one. Number two is we have no idea what the nominating process will be. Might be convention, might be firehouse primary, might be primary. We had Curtis Colgate on yesterday. Those answers will be forthcoming. No one knows. It's going to be one of those three. Third thing is we expect at least 3 other candidates to get in the race, and that will be House of Delegates member Scott Taylor, Virginia Beach, House of Delegates member Chris Stoley, Virginia Beach, and we also expect to get a potential announcement from 2nd District Chairman Curtis Colgate as well. So that's how the thing is set up right now. But Pat Cardwell, there's a school of thought that says you started this whole thing, right? Because you were the one that was saying, look, I think I'm going to challenge Ridgel. Maybe that got his attention. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I can't speculate about what's in Congressman Ridgel's head. But what I will say is that for the last number of months, I have been exploring this opportunity, and by opportunity, I mean challenging Congressman Ridgel in a primary, as you pointed out up front. I was always going to do it. In fact, we were going to announce next week. It was just a question of getting the campaign team in place, getting filed, and all those things have been done. So, because of the change, obviously, we decided to come out today. But I was going to challenge Congressman Ridgel before anybody else kind of thought about getting into this thing. And I don't know who's going to run, but I think it's very telling that, the second, literally, that somebody says, I'm not going to run, the opportunistic types come out and say, hey, what an opportunity for me now that the seat's open. I mean, to me, challenging him in the primary would have been the better approach, and that's what I would have done. But, at the end of the day, it just, to me, shows that, that people are sometimes more opportunistic than they are, thinking about, the people of the district that they represent.
Okay, you're not an elected official. You're not really involved in politics that much. What's the catalyst here for your candidacy? What's the reason behind it?
A number of years ago, I started following Congressman Ridgel, and I don't remember what particular vote it was, but sometime in either 2013 or 2014, he did something that I don't remember which one it was, but he did something that I wasn't pleased about, and I remember specifically emailing my wife, Michaela, and saying, I don't like the positions this gentleman's taking. Do you mind if I run against him? And my wife replied back, sure. And it was sort of started from there. And from there, I started following him. And he basically has become Republican establishment. He had become part of the problem in D.C. and not the solution. He was right up there with the leadership, and his votes were telling. I mean, if you look at the American Heritage score for conservative politicians, he got like a 41, which was barely above the Democrats in the latest one I saw. So I just felt like we were not getting the representation that we were told we were getting and that we deserved. And I also felt like that D.C. has just become so, money-oriented. They act as if they're smarter than we are, that the people have forgot about the R-word representative and focus more now on themselves than they are on their constituencies. So I've decided that, it was time to take that on.
Pat, let me just ask you point blank. I get candidates come on my show all the time. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. They say this, they say that. Then they get up there and they do, if not the exact opposite, half the opposite. They get caught up in basically the trappings of the office. They're looking for committee assignments. And so they get sucked into the establishment, lobbyist, big donor globalist world, and that's kind of the way it is. Now, I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon because I've been lied to so many times it would make your head spin. You know, people get on my show, they want to run for this and run for that. At the end of the day, they get up there and then they don't do what they say they were going to do. What assurances do we have that Pat Cardwell is going to be any different from any of these other people?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I don't particularly care about what people in D.C. think of me. What I care about are the people here in the 2nd District. And if that means going up there and representing the interests of the people down here and doing the job that they want me to do, including doing things like, you know, holding regular town hall meetings, explaining what I'm doing, including doing things like posting my votes real time on Twitter when they happen. You know, those are the kind of things I'm going to do. And if that means I lose in 2 years, so be it. I'm not up there to win the love of the Republican leadership. We need a new kind of Republican. Electing Republicans doesn't work anymore. You know, they promised, give us the House, they'll stop this, they'll stop Obamacare. Give us the Senate. Now, you know, 2 years later, we did that, and now it's like, give us the presidency. Well, that's fine. When you have everything in control, you can do what you want, but it's what you do when you're not in control that matters. And you can't stop me. You cannot. They can put me in the worst office. They can put me on the worst committees if there are such a thing. But at the end of the day, they cannot silence my voice, and they cannot stop me from representing these people in the way that they deserve to be represented and should have been represented all along. And if that means I lose in 2 years, so be it. I'll be able to look myself in the mirror every day and say I tried.
We're with Pat Cardwell. He's going to announce his candidacy for Congress, 2nd Republican District. Scott Ridgel not running for re-election. Pat, let's get down to some specific issues, how you would have voted and how you are going to vote if you're in there. Number one, the omnibus bill that passed outraged a lot of common sense conservatives, another $700 billion in spending, no way to pay for debt now up to $20 trillion. If you were in Congress, how would you have voted on the most recent omnibus bill?
Well, I had already decided to challenge Congressman Ridgel in a primary, but if I hadn't, that would have put me over the top. There is no doubt in my mind that the Republican Party that I grew up admiring in Richmond, was the party of smaller government spending, smaller government, lower taxes to fuel small business, to fuel the growth engine of this country, and that bill did nothing to do that. All it did was say to the Republicans, I'm scared of the reaction of shutting down the government that's going to be, plastered all over the papers. So, take whatever you want, President Obama. You can have whatever you want. We'll vote for it and support it, and then we'll have votes down the road that make people believe that we somehow stand for something. At the end of the day, I would have voted against it. There were a number of reasons. One, it funded Obamacare again. Two, it funded the Syrian refugee program. I don't think that we should be in a position where people are coming in trying to do physical harm to our good citizens, and be in a position to pay people to come do that. And third, whether you're somebody who supports life or supports the right of a woman to have an abortion, you cannot be for what Planned Parenthood was done and still, be a human being. So I would not have voted to fund Planned Parenthood. And based upon those three things, I couldn't have supported the bill. And to the extent there were things in the bill that required, that were important to this district, I would have tried to pull them out and have them separately considered.
All right, let's get to this trade deal, Trans-Pacific Partnership deal. That is coming on the table. If you're elected to Congress, you're going to be a part of deciding whether that goes up or down. There's no amendments to be made, so don't be telling me like some congressmen do about depends on the amendments. There are no amendments because we gave Obama fast track. Up or down vote on TPP, where do you go?
No.
That's good enough for me. Okay,
I mean, I can go on if you want. I mean, the thing that really bothered me about that whole process, put aside the actual bill, I mean, it's a no. Anytime you fast-track stuff, it just leads to abuse. As I recall, also, that bill took the filibuster out. So, I mean, it gutted any kind of ability to probably stop anything from happening. And the other thing is, you know, since when do we put bills in the basement of the Capitol and tell only certain people they can read them, and then without, and then they can't even take copies of it or take their iPhone in there to take pictures of any pages that may or may not interest them. It's just silly.
Right, well, that was how the thing started. In order to go to read it, you had to have your secret pinky handshake PDF PF flyer ring. Now, though, it's online for all the world to see, and this thing is horrible. I want to get to. I'm going to go to foreign policy, immigration. Donald Trump, front runner right now, I think is going to be the nominee. Said, "Look, let's not continue to let any Muslims come into the United States until we figure this out." How do you stand on that?
Well, I think it's a tough decision, but I agree with it because if you can't vet something properly in terms of somebody coming into the country and whether that person's going to do harm, then you're really hard pressed to be able to handle any of it. You know, if we can find a way that, I mean, there's no records, I take it, over there that in the Middle East that are very credible.
Right.
You know, so if there were, then the answer would be different. But I think right now, the way the world is, and the attacks that constantly are coming our way, including the marital exception that happened in San Bernardino that allowed that person to do what she did, I got to believe that we have to take a step back and take a look at it. And if we don't, then we're just asking for more trouble. So common sense dictates that answer more than anything else. And you just have to put aside this idea that somehow you're offending people when, in fact, what you're trying to do is protect them.
So let's get to the Middle Eastern ISIS situation. Some of our allies in the Middle East, the Saudis, one, for instance, are looking for Assad to be deposed before they'll get involved in any serious way. Same thing with the Turks. Are you comfortable finding a solution in Syria that elevates the Russians' involvement in the area and allows President Assad to stay in power?
You know, to be honest with you, I am not completely sold on any solution in the Middle East. I mean, it's been there for thousands of years. There's always been a problem, and every time we go in and support somebody else comes out and does better, or with the intent of harming us each time. So I'm not comfortable on dictators. I will say that Reagan did a nice job of shutting Gaddafi up when he dropped a few bombs on him. And he was quiet for many, many years. So there are ways to make people cooperate, but you know, I'm not sold on us doing specific regime change over there as a method to resolve the issues. So, I mean, right now I just have to consider each situation as they come. But to be honest with you, I don't feel like it's that any one answer is going to prevail any better result over the other.
Would you be open to committing a large contingent, 20, 30,000, 40,000 ground troops to fight ISIS in Syria and Iraq?
I'm open to hit them wherever they are. The problem that I have is whenever people talk about putting boots on the ground, is you can never get them off the ground. So obviously that's an approach that's not a popular approach right now, and so would I be open to it? I'm open to anything that works, but I can't tell you that I'm open to putting troops on the ground right now because I just don't see a solution from it, and I don't want to put American lives at risk that shouldn't otherwise be at risk without a solution that's very clear. It used
All
to
right,
be
Pat,
easier for us.
Pat, we're out
that.
of time. We're
Yep.
out of time. I want to thank Pat Cardwell for being with us. We're going to have you back on. Good looking at your campaign. More info, go to patcardwell.com. Thanks, Pat.